Hello everyone, Mason here. How are you doing? The Friends tag. Originally created by Noval Novels, I was tagged by my friend Ovely Average Ben. Thanks mate. I'll leave both the original and Ben's video in the description. I love tags, I really do. I find them a lot of fun. Quick disclaimer though, as I've mentioned, I'm not quite as well read as other booktubers. So what I've been trying to do when I'm tagged is take advantage of my future pile of possibilities. I just thought rather than mentioning the same books over and over again, because how many times can I answer The Lord of the Rings, I'd use tags to find books that I haven't read yet but would like to. That's the disclaimer out of the way, let's get to it. Future Mason here. I just finished recording and I realised that in my haste to wrap up, I didn't include Shaun Holt in my shout-out section. Shaun is such a nice guy and he's been good to me, so I felt terrible and I wanted to put that right. Shaun is a booktuber and an author. If you haven't checked him out yet, the link to his channel will be in my description. You really should give him a go. F is for friendship. Choose a book with a strong friendship. Now I'm a sucker for a fictional friendship, and another thing that I'd like to read more of is books with disabled rep. So for this one, I chose You're Welcome, Universe by Whitney Garden. It centres around a girl called Julia who is deaf and also a graffiti artist. She spray paints over something nasty written about her friend, but it turns out that her friend is not really so much of a friend. She grasses her in and Julia is expelled. Her parents send Julia to a mainstream school where she's the only deaf student and she's treated like an outcast. The one thing she clings to for a little bit of comfort is her graffiti. It turns out that she's not the only vandal in town though. Someone is spray painting over her tags, adding to them and showing off their skill. Before long, she's dragged into a full-on graffiti war. Apparently, Julia ends up befriending this other vandal, and their friendship is both strong and heartwarming. This sounds like the sort of book that appeals to me big time, to be honest. I've never read anything with a deaf protagonist before, and I think that could be incredibly interesting, and I do love a good coming of age story. So it sounds like there's lots to love about this, and I'm definitely eager to get to it at some point this year. R is for real life. Choose a non-fiction book. The Murders That Made Us. How vigilantes, hoodlums, mob bosses, serial killers and cult leaders built the San Francisco Bay Area by Bob Calhoun, which focuses on the 170-year history of the San Francisco Bay Area told through its crimes and how they intertwine with its art, politics and music. I feel like usually when you hear about a city, you get all the things that make it great. What a lovely place to visit it is. I love the idea that Bob Calhoun has written this book that focuses on the seedy underbelly. I don't read much non-fiction, but that sounds fascinating. I is for independent. Choose a book by an independently published author. Now to my undying shame, I don't know that much about publishing. I tend to know who the author of a book is, but that's about it. I'm not actually aware of who is and isn't independently published.
Boo!
Yes, I hate me as much as you hate me right now. There's really no need to make me feel any worse than I already do.
Okay.
One of the things that makes both Nikki from Dark Between Pages and Leslie from The Nerdy Narrative so great is that they're dedicated to bringing awareness to authors like that though. I was recently watching Nikki's Author Spotlight with Damien Serbu, who sounded like a fascinating guy. One of the things that he's written is Santa is a vampire, which is a concept that makes me laugh. E is for endings. Choose a book with an ending that made you want to scream. Well, I'm an expressive reader, so I'm definitely the sort of person that would do that. I will laugh out loud, and if a character's doing something that I don't want them to, I will shout at them. I've already given it a hard time on the channel, so I'm not going to focus on it too much, but The Dinner Guest by B.P. Walters was utterly infuriating. The final reveal of what actually happened was underwhelming, and then at the end, Walters decided to add one final twist that made me want to rip out my own hair. That makes no sense, why would they do that? N is for new. Choose a new book. There are so many. Honestly, I ended up adding a lot of books to my want to read shelf on Goodreads this month. I'll pick 2 of them though. The first one is The Girl with Stars in Her Eyes, a story of love, loss and rock and roll by Zio Axelrod, which is the coolest name ever. It centres around Antonia Tony Bennett, who is a guitarist. She has a friend called Seb, who promises that they will escape their hometown together, but Seb leaves and Tony is left behind. Years later, she's making a name for herself on the local music scene, and she's encouraged to try out for a hot new band, except her old friend Seb is one of the people that's making the decisions on who joins and who doesn't, so her old friend now holds the key to her future. I think this sounds pretty interesting, to be honest. A little bit of fun. I've never read anything with a musician as the protagonist before, and I think it's got some cool areas to explore, like how it feels when a friendship breaks apart, when friends move away, as well as the struggles of being a musician. And there's probably a little bit of romance in there too, so I'm not complaining. The second one is Not My Problem by Kira Smith. This one centres around a girl named Ideen, who is not having a good time. Her one and only friend is pulling away, and on top of that, her mum has a drinking problem. One day she comes across Neb, who is desperate to escape her extracurriculars, and so Ideen agrees to push her down the stairs. Neb's resulting sprained ankle is the perfect excuse. But when another student learns of their scheme, they bring Ideen a new client, and so Ideen embarks on a school year filled with solving other people's problems to take her mind off her own. I think this sounds fun. The premise kinda reminds me of Easy A, but without the sex. If it's done right, I think this one could actually be great. D is for dark. Choose a book with dark themes. I'm going to choose a crime novel for this one.
Really?
Yes, really, you don't get themes much darker than murder. Leave me alone. I like crime. I find it entertaining, alright?
What is the matter with you?
Okay, admittedly, that didn't sound the way I wanted it to. I'm going to choose The Killing Kind by Jane Casey, which centres around a barrister called Ingrid Lewis, who defends a man called John Webster on a stalking charge. But afterwards, he turns his attentions to her. He follows her, ruins her relationship, destroys her home. Then Ingrid's friend is run over, right in front of her, and she is convinced that she was the intended target. John Webster shows up on her doorstep and tells her that she's in danger, and he's the only one that can protect her. Saviour or stalker, murderer or protector. The clock is ticking, and Ingrid needs to decide, because the killer is ready to strike again. This kind of thing makes me nervous because it sounds interesting, but it definitely sounds like the sort of story that could go either way. If the author pulls it off, it could be fantastic. But if it's done badly, I could easily walk away feeling dissatisfied. Who knows? We'll find out at some point. Maybe. Don't know. S is for sharing. Share the love and tag some of your favourite channels. You know what else S is for? Shout out. I definitely want to mention some of the channels that I really like, but I also don't want anyone to feel obligated to do this tag, as I know that at least a few of you will have done so already, but obviously if I mention you and you haven't and you want to, then cool. There's Joanna, Lady Jane Books, Jeremy Fee, Greener Side of Sam, Eva Reeds, Rosie Cockshit. Sarah's Coffee Cup, Nolan Michael Cruz. Year of the Author, Book Opinions. Attention, Larry Has Opinions, Luke Edwards, Billy Bonsai, Harriet's Book Corner, Beth Ann Bruniger Sokolar. Lost in a Bookcase, The Nerdy Narrative, Dark Between Pages, The Codex Cantina, The Contradictorian. Kit Kats Can Read, and Chris Reviews. The list goes on and on and on. I could keep going, but that's already an extremely long list and there's probably nobody left listening, so I'm gonna stop. My question for today, if anyone's still listening, is this. If you could be best friends with any author, who would it be? I hope you've had a good time today, guys. If you have, share a pizza with the like button, because that's what good friends do. Then say hi in the comment section and we can have a chat. The link to my Twitter is in the description, and subscribing will make sure that you never miss another one of my videos. Thanks ever so much for spending time with me today. Until next time, take care. For now I'm off, and you should have a good one. I is for friendship. No, it's not. That was the last one. R is for real life. Choose a non-fiction book. Seriously? No one told you life was gonna be this way. You chose and chose.